Hello and welcome to WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. We are honored to have in the studio Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann, who is in the area and on her way throughout the state doing a tour of many of the counties. Lieutenant Governor, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Bill. Glad to be here on this beautiful morning.
It's always a nice day in DuBois County.
Yes, it is.
It's probably always good for you to get back home a little bit. But you are on your state tour where you were going to go and see all 92 counties. You know, the year is fast approaching the end. Where do you stand?
Well, as of last Friday, 68 counties of the 92 county tour. So that's maybe mile 21 or 22 on the 26.2 mile marathon. That's how I have it marked in my head. We're approaching that finish line. And as we said from the beginning, locals may say, when are you coming to DuBois County? It will be the finish line. So as appropriate, I believe my home county should be last. They know me best and have pretty much full access to me anyway. So we will finish here in DuBois County just before Thanksgiving. So very much looking forward to that. But it has been a fabulous experience. It is very much me listening and learning from each county, meeting with elected officials, most recent one in Martin County, to hear what's working, what their challenges are, and how the state can be a better partner. And then a second session with business and agriculture leaders, because if you know anything about Governor Pence and our administration, it's about making sure we have jobs for Hoosiers, that we continue to increase the opportunities here. So those sessions, again, same comments, what's working for business and agriculture, what are their challenges, and how can the state be a better partner? We want to know how we can help them grow, get out of their way when appropriate, and continue to increase the opportunities for Hoosiers.
What has been maybe the theme of things that are working? What's been the theme of things that aren't working, the concerns?
Well, you know, certainly there is much appreciation. You know, business and agriculture understands that Indiana is a great state to do business. We just, in fact, last week, we knocked Texas out of number 10 for the best tax climate in the country. So we're number 10 in the nation now on that. We're already number 1 in the Midwest for places to do business, number 2 by site selectors in the country. So we know we're doing a lot of things right, but how do we make sure we're continuing to fine-tune our processes, how our agencies interact with business and ag, and continuing to do that in an appropriate way. With the elected officials, I'd say, you know, certainly we've heard concerns with the impacts of property tax caps on the counties and some of that loss of income, and understanding that those hit during a perfect storm of a recession and then reduced assessed values, and we're just coming out of that phase. So I think it's been very important to hear the circumstances of counties and municipalities as they go about trying to maintain their infrastructure and provide services to their folks. So it's very much helping to inform the governor and me as we move into this upcoming legislative session that'll start in January, but also in how we interact with our agencies and making sure that we're very sensitive to the communities.
Something I always wondered is, you are the lieutenant governor and we have the governor. How do you guys work? Because you're really two separate entities in a way, but yet you're the same entity. But how does that coordination work?
Well, you know, we've said from the day we came into office that it was one team. So in fact, as we came in the first month, we did a retreat with all of our staffs as one team, making sure that we're always keeping the other informed. We're on 2 different floors of the State House. Of course, he is a big suite on the second floor. Mine's the 3rd floor up by the Senate. Our communication staff work together on a daily basis, spending time making sure that we know what press releases will come out that day, that I'm briefed on the projects that the agencies under his office are rolling on, and vice versa. So we've worked very diligently. As you can imagine, it's never quite perfect, but we continue to work on that, and it's going well. It's going very well, and you know, of course, I couldn't ask for a better governor to work with. It's really been a pleasure.
Well, speaking of going well, there's been a lot of talk about the budget at the beginning of the year because the budget needed to get passed, and we just went through federally where they can't seem to get together on a budget, even shut down the government. How is Indiana's state budget doing?
Yes. Well, we came into our new budget in July. We've got 1 quarter under our belt right now. We very slightly underperformed to that budget. Now understand that we have $2 billion in reserves and another $150 million in reserve to that. And we've nicked into about half of that $150 million. Why is that important? The $2 billion is incredibly important to keep our AAA credit rating across the nation as one of the few states that are seen as very credit worthy with the rating agencies. So, we are internally tightening our own belts to make sure that we're right on track with the budget. We're certainly within a minor margin of error of where we want to be. So we want to see, it's very important for us, we want to continue to see Indiana's economy improve. It's moving in all the right directions with the exception of some of those federal government hiccups along the way that make it a little more difficult to keep businesses and agriculture rolling in the right directions. But we're pleased with what we see, but we do hope to get to that fully black side of the budget for ourselves, but we hold ourselves very accountable to that, and we've asked our agencies to say, well, while we're a few $1 million behind, we need to squeeze our own belts to make sure that we're within our budget, just as we would expect any private entity or for-profit.
Now, oftentimes businesses and are with federal mandates kind of strapped and forced to spend some money we don't want to spend all the time. Does the state have that sort of same deal with federal government?
Oh,
are you
of
mandated
course.
like crazy and
Of
it
course.
causes you heartache?
Well, in every case, a latest EPA ruling or a latest change in any of the revenue streams that flow through Department of Transportation, et cetera, all of that affects us. So, we do our best just as you do, and I think the 92 county tour has, if anything, sensitized me to where, as a state, we may get the unfunded mandate from one level up. Our local communities feel like they get it from 2 levels up. So we have to be very careful that as we lead the state, that we don't put undue unfunded mandates down to our communities either. And it's very, very challenging as those come in to we all want to use taxpayer dollars to their highest impact, to make the greatest difference, to be a minimum of a drain on Hoosier families, and yet sometimes we're forced to put those funds into areas that we don't see as highest impact.
Did the federal shutdown, the government shutdown, affect the state in a way?
In a minor way, it did. We had National Guards, our reserve members that would have been furloughed, that Governor Pence chose to pick up to keep them staffed. We were, because of our great fiscal shape, we had the reserves also to handle WIC and SNAP and some of the programs to help that would be federally funded. So as a state, we forwarded to an extent with the understanding that when the federal government came back up that those dollars would be reimbursed. But really, that is as a result of being fiscally sound that we're able to do that. Not all states were able to make those kinds of adjustments. So we're appreciative the federal government is back up and running. We hope it continues to do that and that it makes the adjustments it needs to get its fiscal house in order.
You are the head of a blue ribbon task force for transportation. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Many folks are familiar with the great work of the previous administration with major moves and what that allowed to happen with I-69 and many projects across the state. So now we're in a new era where we need to think beyond major moves. What will the next decade for transportation infrastructure look like? And that is not just roads, it's also rail, it's air, it's our ports. So the governor has appointed me to co-chair the Blue Ribbon Panel for Transportation Infrastructure with another female, Kathy Langham, who owns her own logistics company out of Central Indiana, very well qualified in the field, and we will be bringing together mayors, those in manufacturing and logistics, through the airport authorities, et cetera, all the key perspectives across the state, representing the state, to study the future for transportation, but really 3 guiding principles that we have. One, and I think this just fits perfectly in our heritage here in Du Bois County, take care of what you have. Make sure that we take care of the roads we have. We're blessed to have the most interstates coming through our state of any crossing through, to be the crossroads of America, if you will. That's a very good thing, but take care of what you have. Finish what you started. So I-69, we're very committed as a guiding principle to keep that project, see it through to completion. And then thirdly, plan for the future. And that's where a lot of the time of this Blue Ribbon panel will be spent, helping to create the criteria and the prioritizations for INDOT as we move forward 10 years from now and look at what is the best investment of dollars for infrastructure for Hoosiers and how should those priorities be made.
Because oftentimes with infrastructure, if you start a project now, we're not done for another 20 years
yes,
sometimes. So you really do you have to get the jump on that.
It's a long planning horizon. We hope that they don't all take the 40 years that I-69 took, but to think 10 years is, it's very realistic that it takes a number of years. But to really look across the state and understand what projects will have the greatest economic impact, which ones how will they affect quality of life, what kind of environmental impacts will they have. But we're going to look at not only freight moving, but also passengers, so how we as Hoosiers move across the state. So it's a big task. We've got until next summer to finish that planning, but there's a lot of work being done as pre-work, and that Blue Ribbon panel will begin meeting at the end of this month.
Oh, good luck with it.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add while you have the time?
No, it's always great to be back home.
Well, it's good to have you here, and thank you so much for stopping in.
Thanks, Bill.
Our guest has been Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann, who resides in Ferdinand, but is on her way to Indianapolis many times throughout the week. Thank you for watching WJTS Inform. We are local people watching local people.